Today's video is brought to you by Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout has helped over 100,000 people start their own podcast. It's the easiest way to host, promote, and track your podcast. Start your free 90-day trial today at buzzsprout.com. Do you want to know the real number of how many podcast episodes you need to have before you can get an advertiser to come onto your podcast and advertise with you? Let's answer that coming up next.
Podcasting, training and development.
Hey there, podcaster. My name is the Shan Man, radio broadcaster, podcaster, and podcast producer. And of course, now the new title, which is a podcast therapist. I was just helping someone recently and they said to me, oh my God, I tell you all my problems and you're like my podcast therapist. You listen and then you help fix them. So I'm happy to own that name, the podcast therapist. So I'm very happy to share these videos with you and help you the best that I can. Today's video, of course, is brought to you by the Essential Equipment Guide to Starting a Podcast. If you're looking to start a podcast and need the right equipment or looking at specific pieces of equipment that I recommend that you use for a podcast, that equipment guide is definitely going to help you out. The link for that guide is down in the description of this particular YouTube video. So go down into the YouTube description and you can download it today. So today we are answering a question that came on the comments of last week's video that talked specifically all about, or asked the question, how many episodes do I need to have for my podcast to start getting advertisers? So this was asked a different way, but I kind of optimized it to be a little more clear for today's video specifically. All right. So the question being, how many episodes should I have before I think about getting advertisers for my podcast? Now, I know that sponsorships and advertising is always on the top of podcasters' minds. And I think that, I don't know if it has been communicated clear enough to podcasters that sponsorships and advertising, they do take a little bit of work. They take some time. Now, they don't take a whole lot of work in some cases, and in other cases, they may take a lot of work, and it just all depends on how you're going to look at it. So in today's video, I want to break down to you at least 5 areas that I think you should be focusing on when it comes down to thinking about getting advertisers to your podcast. And I want you to really look at advertising and sponsorships away from the traditional light, because I think this is where podcasters get confused. They think that everything has to be traditionally like radio or TV. And when we're dealing with a medium that is dealt specifically on the internet, it may be a little bit different. And there may be opportunities there for you that you didn't realize that existed, instead of having to go out and hunt for an advertiser all on your own. Okay. So this is really going to be important for you when it comes down to implementing pieces of audio into your podcast and thinking about what you should be saying in your podcast if you think about getting a sponsorship or implementing some type of sponsorship into the podcast. All right. So first, let's talk about sponsorships and whether or not they are going to be the end all be all to your podcast. Now, this is, I guess this is kind of false in a sense, or it's misleading. I shouldn't say it's false. It's more misleading than anything. I think that the conception of most podcasters is that sponsorships are going to make them a ton of money and they're going to be millionaires. They're going to be like Joe Rogan and they're going to be able to retire and just do podcasting altogether. And this is completely misleading or untrue. Okay. What we're looking at when it comes down to sponsorships is that they are a means to help assist you as far as getting some income in the door, but also helping give that advertiser some visibility to their products and services. And to be quite honest, the price on sponsorships, depending on who you have, isn't going to be something that you're going to get thousands and thousands of dollars upon thousands of dollars, okay? Unless you're like a Joe Rogan or you're someone else, or maybe you're doing something on YouTube where it's consistent content over and over and it's being viewed all of the time. So that's another story for another time or another video. But what we're talking about specifically are sponsorships and whether or not they're end all be all. No, they're not. I mean, you just can't put all your eggs in that one basket, okay? But they are just one way in which you can make money for your podcast. But I think the intention that you need to have when it comes down to having a sponsor for your podcast is that you're looking to put someone in the light of your listeners. You're trying to get them in front of your listeners so those listeners can come back and hopefully purchase that, that offer that you're offering within the podcast itself from that particular client or that sponsor. So it's really going to be more results driven than you think. All right. So your podcast is more about having results for the client themselves or for the sponsor themselves, because they want to see those results. Now, they're going to either want a branding campaign or they're going to want to see a return on investment campaign. You're going to have to think about what it is that you are going to try and pitch to a potential sponsor if you want to just do some specific branding campaign. And not all of the time do sponsors want to do this, all right? Now, I will tell you here shortly where there are sponsors that are doing this in kind of a roundabout way. So stick around for that here in a minute, all right? But just know that when you're talking about sponsorships, they are not the end-all be-all. Now, if you're looking to get a sponsor in the very beginning of starting a podcast, maybe there's a way around it. Maybe you can reach out to some of these digital services that you are using that are, really helping you help aid you in the process of building out a podcast business itself. All right. So let's say you have some bookkeeping software that you use. You could potentially reach out to that bookkeeping software and say, hey, look, I'm starting a podcast. It's within this particular niche. This is who I'm trying to reach, and this is the audience that I am trying to grow. Would you be willing to help me out and partner with me, maybe give me an opportunity to use your software and I'll promote your software on my podcast? That might be one way about doing that. I've seen multiple ways of getting people to come in and being sponsors. It doesn't necessarily mean it's monetary, but it means that you are getting a sponsor in some way, shape, or form onto your podcast. So that's one way of getting around that, okay? Number two, when it comes down to how many episodes you need, I don't know if there's an exact number. I know that this is a little bit misleading as far as my title of this video is concerned, but I don't know if there's an exact number because it ranges and it varies with each podcaster. This is not a concrete answer, but what I will tell you is that it's going to be important for you to build quality content all the time, all right? And you have to do it to where it's going to have quality for the listener. It's going to educate them. It's going to entertain them. It's going to provide some type of impact or value with that audience so that it makes them want to come back for more. So when they do see or get that notification that there is a brand new podcast episode from you, that they are going to listen to it because they know that they are getting value and quality with that particular episode. So when we think about that value and quality, you are going to be growing out that audience. And as you continue to grow out that audience, maybe you want to start reaching out to other podcasters and wanting to be on their podcast. You hear me talk about this all the time. Show up on other people's podcasts, show up on their blog posts, show up in any way that you can. Get in front of other people's audiences to where those audiences trust those content creators. So those content creators can say, hey, I'm putting my word onto this particular guy. Go check out his podcast. And that drags people over into your podcast realm as well. So that's going to be very important for you to grow the podcast. Now, you could be, let's say, 50 podcast episodes in, maybe that's the time to start looking for a sponsor, but not necessarily. It doesn't have to be the case, all right? So just think about this. You have to grow and build quality content in order to start getting people to really love your content. That's going to be the key here, okay? Get people to love your content and reach out to other podcasters, get them on your podcast and vice versa. Number 3, I want you to implement a strategy inside of your podcast that serves as kind of like a self-sponsored spot. You might have heard this in my previous podcasts that I have done that have been on Apple Podcasts in the past, where I have promoted, and you hear me all the time in these particular videos, where you hear me always promoting to go get the essential equipment guide, get a monetization guide, get something. Use the space within your podcast to advertise your own things. It's your podcast, so there's no reason why you shouldn't be promoting the things that you want to sell or you want to promote. So I would implement these strategies, or I would implement some form of or a means to get people on an email list. You always hear me talk about get an essential equipment guide. Well, I do want to provide that value to people because people don't know what equipment to get when it comes down to podcasting. So I've provided the guide for them, and these are the things that I use because the value is important to share with them, and I want them to continue to come back and view these videos on YouTube. You can do the exact same thing within your podcast if you implement on the back end something on your website for people to download, some helpful tips, some guides, some PDF, whatever it may be. Maybe it's a webinar. I don't know what it may be, but it's got to be of value, and use those pieces that you have on your website as promotional sponsorships for yourself in your podcast, saying that you want people to go to your website to check those things out. And that's where you can start nurturing those relationships to hopefully get them to purchase something that you are offering. Number 4, and I've already covered this, but we're just going to cover it again. Just build quality content, build amazing quality content. This last week, I jumped onto Apple Podcasts and I was just viewing different podcasts and seeing what was out in the marketplace. And a lot of these podcasts, they're starting out from the very beginning, and that's good. They're starting, but I want them to build quality content. For the first 15 minutes of those podcasts, they spent time talking about absolutely nothing. Really didn't have a direction of what that podcast was, what those podcasts were about. And that's what really frustrated me. And I stuck with the podcast for at least 15 minutes. I said, I'm going to stick with these podcasts for 15 minutes to see if it goes anywhere. It went absolutely nowhere. I even fast forwarded. It just didn't seem like there was a complete focus on what they were supposed to be talking about. It was just dudes rambling, all right? Or in one case, there was a guy that was just rambling, and I just didn't understand what the purpose was of his podcast. So I want you to build quality content with a purpose. Now, does it mean that, like, let's say you have a comedy podcast, and how do you build podcast content around comedy? Well, maybe you need to focus in an area in which it's specifically within a niche. Maybe you're talking about politics. Can you put a funny spin on the political landscape, especially right now? Could you do something like that? Maybe it doesn't have to be in politics. Maybe it's in pop culture. You can definitely do some type of pop culture spin that is entertaining someone. Maybe it's more focused in influencers on TikTok. Maybe you create a podcast specifically that is all about having fun with TikTok influencers and, I don't know, maybe poking fun at them. I don't know. I mean, that's going to be completely up to you and how you develop that. But just know that that content has to be valuable for people to want to come back and listen. That's going to be the key here. And the last thing that I want to share with you today is going to be that sponsors don't have to be traditional how you're thinking about it. Just like I mentioned in the beginning of this particular video, they don't have to be traditional. So look outside of the traditional realm. And in fact, you can start implementing what I'm about to say right now for your podcast. If you have not looked into affiliate marketing with other products and services, this is an area where you could just start blowing it up and start growing it from the very beginning. So what am I talking about with affiliate marketing? Now, I know this gets kind of like a bad rap with people, but it's not as bad as you think, all right? Affiliate marketing, and you'll see it with most products and services that are out there on the internet. You might see it with soft drinks. You might see it with makeup brands. You might see it with clothing brands or whatever it may be. Maybe you subscribe to a service. Let's just use Amazon for an example, okay? Amazon has an affiliate program. If you purchased products within the Amazon ecosystem, you can promote those products and earn a commission off of those particular products. Now, does this mean that you're going to be getting hundreds and thousands of dollars off of affiliate marketing? Not necessarily, but it can lead to that. And it can lead to a decent income stream just for you and your podcast. I have these systems implemented in my workflows for my YouTube channel and upcoming podcasts that help me out later on down the line. In fact, as I'm recording this in 2020, these lines of income have come in clutch during the pandemic. So I encourage you to go and look for products and brands that you find valuable, that you think other people will find value in as well. Create short links and share those short links in your podcast so that they can start purchasing those products and you can get a commission as well. You don't need to reach out to some sponsor. Well, you do have to apply sometimes to become an affiliate, but that's pretty easy. If you go look on certain websites, you can see it's become an affiliate. All you have to do is apply. And then once you get approved, then you can start building short links and mention them in your podcast. Try to push for commissions, get them to purchase those products because it's going to help you on the back end in getting those commissions. The more people that you get to buy off of your affiliate link, the more money that you are going to be getting on the back end. So that's just another way of earning sponsorships without actually having to go and hunt the sponsorship out. One of the beauties behind affiliate marketing is that people will go back into your back catalog and they'll hear these links and they're already embedded in your episodes and people can go to them. The more that they hear a lot of these links, the more they get curious. They may not click on it the first, second, third, fourth, or fifth time. They might not even click it until the 100th time, but at least those links are there for people to click on and use so that you can get that commission for those affiliate links. I hope this gives you a better understanding that sponsorships aren't all created equal. Sponsorships aren't even sponsorships. You have to go out and you have to find the opportunities for yourself and open those doors for yourself so that you can start earning income as soon as possible. Doesn't have to be in the thousands. Doesn't have to be in the hundreds of thousands. It can be in the hundreds. That's all you need, really, is in the hundreds. And if you can get a $10 commission off of 5 different people, you've made $50 right there easily. And if you continue to promote and use those products, it's really going to come in handy because people will know that they trust you and they'll trust that you're promoting a product that is going to help them. If you like this video, go ahead and leave it a thumbs up. And of course, hit that subscribe button down below and hit the little bell notification so you can get notified when I drop a brand new video just like this. Leave a comment down below and let me know, are you using affiliate marketing in your particular podcast? And has it built a line of income just for you? Or why have you not started affiliate marketing for your podcast? I'd really love to know in the comments down below. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, the comments section is always where you can find me. You know, that's where I hang out. And of course, I'll try to answer the questions the best that I can. I will talk to you guys next week. Take care.